Hello, my name is Joyce Bock. I am from Salubrious Events, and today I have with me Dr. Alexander Defoe, and I want to interview Alexander in light of our upcoming event, Emerging Technology Assisting Wellbeing. Alex will be one of our speakers, and he'll be talking about a couple of technologies that are being refined or being manufactured and being tested to assist people in various aspects of mental health and well-being. So hello, Alex.
Hi, Joy.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, do you want to just tell us a bit about yourself and your work?
Sure. So I started getting into research about 10 years ago, informally studying various anomalous phenomena, looking at out-of-body experiences and other altered states of consciousness. So this was really my passion and my main area of interest. I then started researching these topics more formally at Monash University as part of my PhD in psychology. So this was a really fascinating area for me to start looking at using more rigorous scientific approaches and also recognizing some of the challenges of trying to understand the spectrum of consciousness and where these altered states fit in. Recently, I've become a lot more interested in the uses of modern technology to explore some of these phenomena. So we've had quite a number of breakthroughs in virtual reality and other techniques recently that have really opened up a lot of avenues to look at altered states, to look at altered perception and these various experiences. In particular, looking at how we can induce them more in a controlled way in a laboratory. That's been a really big interest of mine, looking at that intersect between consciousness and technology and how they can better inform our understanding of human perception and a number of other variables. So that's something that I'm still currently researching at the moment. I wouldn't say that I've got any one single focus or one single interest area, but generally have a curiosity about how we can use modern technologies to help further our understanding of consciousness and the broader human condition.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's such a huge area that hasn't been tapped into enough through scientific design and experimentation. Wow. So just one of the devices that you're going to be talking about is called the TMS, or the Transcranial Magnetic Stimulation Device. What is it?
So TMS has been around for a number of decades now, but recently we're seeing more portable devices become available. And the device that I've been working with, I wouldn't call a full TMS device, but it borrows elements of the technology, especially the use of magnetism to alter brainwave states and to alter mind states. So this device I actually came across from a researcher called Persinger in the United States, who was interested in using magnetic stimulation to produce altered states of consciousness. So he actually invented the God helmet, which is a variant of TMS. It uses very similar technology. It's not the same as the sort of TMS devices you would find in hospitals or traditional laboratories, but it uses a lot of the same principles with the idea that by creating a magnetic field very close to the brain, we can actually produce very similar states of consciousness to what we find in mystical experiences or in accounts of psychospiritual experience in altered states, where people might have visions or visionary phenomena, various hypnagogic sort of states of consciousness. And Persinger claims that this device can produce those states very quickly by simply subjecting someone to magnetic stimulation. So the device I use came about from one of Persinger's research students who actually developed an even more portable device, or a portable version of the God helmet, if you like, called the Shakti coil, which actually is really easy to use. It just applies modules to the top of the head, and it's not quite as bulky and uncomfortable as the original God helmet. Having said that, it's not quite as powerful in the output, but we do still see some interesting effects by putting people in a slightly different state of consciousness where they feel a little bit more relaxed, meditative, and might even have some imagery experiences come up. So that's something that I've been exploring recently, and I think by bringing these principles of TMS into a more portable format where people can apply them in the everyday, it's a really fascinating way to explore them, especially considering that the really high-end industry-level TMS devices aren't really accessible to the average person.
Okay, so what can it be used for more in terms of therapeutic settings?
So that's a really interesting question, and surprisingly, if we look at the literature, TMS more broadly has shown really strong effects looking at depression, anxiety, and reducing some of the symptomology associated with those conditions. But it's just been so understudied or not really studied sufficiently. So this is where there's really a lot of opportunity to explore the use of TMS for those applications. In terms of my own research background, I'm also interested in looking at what can this technology tell us about the nature of human consciousness, to what extent can it induce altered states, and what does this tell us about the intersect between mind and brain, and how influencing certain regions of the brain can produce these pretty profound mystical or altered state experiences. So from that vantage point, I think we can learn quite a lot using visualization and imagery and meditation in more of a controlled way for therapeutic purposes. And I think it's very open-ended. I think there's no list of these are the specific therapeutic benefits. It's going to be quite exciting in terms of looking at what we can do and what sort of results people can have with this technology.
Wow, fascinating. I want to ask you so many more questions, but I think I'll leave that for later. So would we be able to get a hold of a TMS for the conference during the experiential hour where someone can just try it?
Yes, so people will be able to have a go at the Shakti coil TMS at the conference. And have an experience firsthand with the device. So the Shakti coil is really one of the more approachable sort of devices that anyone can get a hold of them, but it does require some level of scientific and technical expertise to use. But there will be one set up at the conference for people to try.
How exciting! And the other device you were going to talk about is the light strobe technology, Pandora Star. Can you tell me what is the Pandora Star?
Sure. So the other device I'll be looking at the conference is the light strobing device, the Pandora Star. So my interest in light strobing technology came about maybe 5 or so years ago when these technologies started emerging on the market, and especially in terms of more high-powered, high-frequency light strobing devices. Like TMS, light strobing technology has been around for a few decades now, but since around 2011, 2012, we really saw more of an emergence of fairly powerful light strobing devices rather than the basic sort of light frequencies that were used in the past. So we saw this come about the development of the Lucia light, which uses quite a powerful light strobe and induces altered states. It's being used to induce out-of-body experiences, to induce psychedelic-like experiences, to induce deeper meditations. Mostly limited to research around Europe. But a few years later, we had the emergence of other devices like the Pandora Star and other competitors in the market that were looking to replicate this technology.
Okay.
Using very similar principles of high-speed light strobe. And what researchers have found is using different wavebands, like alpha or like gamma, for instance, we can produce different effects on the mind again. So I found this really fascinating, especially using these devices firsthand, that they can provide very deep hypnotic-like imagery within 5 or 10 minutes of using the device. So again, so many potential applications, both for therapy and for research. Surprisingly, there's only been a handful of research publications on these devices. So again, it's one of those technologies that's really understudied, even more so than TMS. We simply don't really know exactly how it affects the mind and brain and what's going on, but I think that it's a great avenue to look into more from a research perspective. And of course, from a practical or therapeutic perspective, this is technology that people can try. We're using the Pandora Star at the conference as well to have a go at having their own experience with the light strobe. And I think having that first-hand experience is really important to kind of bring that curiosity to the forefront of what we can do with these technologies.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. So it sounds like these tech devices have a potential to for someone to experience like an altered experience that people often seek from taking recreational drugs. That's what that's what it seems to have the potential, where people can have those experiences without taking drugs.
Yeah, that's right. So what we find is that people go into similar sort of mind states that they might with taking certain substances, but doing so in a more controlled way. And obviously, with the aid of technology, they can get into those states. I'm cautious about using the term naturally, because some of these substances do occur naturally anyway, but it does give another outlet for people to explore altered states of consciousness.
Yeah, interesting. And are there any contraindications where people who come to the conference who maybe say have epilepsy shouldn't try these two devices, or at least the Pandora Star if they've got epilepsy? And are there any other things people should just be aware of?
Sure. Yeah, so there are some counterindications for both technologies. Negative effects are not very frequent, though. So what we find is that, some people might experience a mild headache or a bit of discomfort with the technology, but it's very infrequent. And usually we find those effects when people use it for quite a prolonged period of time. So say if they're connected to the device for over an hour, and the same goes for both the Pandora Star and the TMS. They might find a bit of a mild headache afterwards.
Right.
Obviously, with any sort of light strobing technology, people with photosensitivity or history of epilepsy, that would be counterindicated to use that technology. But most of the time, that's due to a medical condition that they may already have in the past.
Okay.
So there are those things to keep in mind with use of this technology.
Yes.
But I would say, in the grand scheme, they're not very frequent things that occur, or factors that we have to look out for, but it is something to be mindful of, as you mentioned.
Sure. Okay. I can't wait to try them. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Alex. And so Alex will be giving a talk on the 10th of August at Elwood Sailing Club. And it would be a full-day conference. If you wanted to stay for the extra hour, you can try the different devices. And to get tickets, just go to melbourneevents.net. So just Melbourne and then events.net, and you can get tickets there. And Alex is also an author. You've written several books, and he's done a lot of research. So yeah, come and meet Alex on the 10th. Thank you. Thanks very much, Alex, for your time.
Thanks, Joy. Look forward to the conference.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, me too. Bye.